Draža Mihailović was born in 1893 in Ivanjica, Serbia. His last name is often misspelled as Mihailović. Mihailović and Mihailović are very common last names in Serbia. He became famous under the nickname Draž. Draža used to be a common nickname for every Dragoljub, Dragoslav, Dragomir. Comes from Drag Draži, English dear, dearer. Mihailović was often referred to as Čiča Draža, Uncle Draža, or simply Čiča. Draža wasn't famous before World War II. Without his role in World War II, Draža would have been forgotten. Orphaned at 7, Draža was raised by his paternal uncle in Belgrade. His uncle was a military officer. This inspired Draža to attend military academy. He participated in 2 Balkan Wars, 1912-1913. Draža received Silver Medal of Honor. Later, he got more decorations for his achievements during World War I on Salonika front. In 1918, Serbia became part of Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes. The new country was later renamed to Yugoslavia. After the war, Draža remained in the military. In 1930, Draža spent 3 months in Paris, France. He attended famous French military academy, Saint-Cyr. Some authors claim Draža met and befriended Charles de Gaulle. This was never confirmed. However, de Gaulle refused to ever meet Tito. In 1935, Draža was promoted to the rank of colonel. In 1935, he became military attaché in Sofia, Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, Draža was involved with political movement Zveno. Zveno was trying to provoke Bulgarian ruler to abdicate. They wanted alliance between Bulgaria and Yugoslavia. Bulgarian authorities asked Draža to leave their country, which he did. Draža was then appointed as an attaché to Prague, Czechoslovakia. In 1939, Draža submitted a report about Yugoslav army. He wanted to reorganize armed forces into Serb, Croat and Slovene units. He wanted mobile Chetnik units along the borders. The word Chetnik before World War II meant member of Cheta unit. Today the word Chetnik is exclusively reserved for Draža's followers. Serb enemies like to use word Chetnik as ethnic slur for Serbs. According to his report, Draža wanted to concentrate forces in the mountainous interior. His pre-war report really illustrates his later war strategy. The Minister of the Army, Milan Nedić, punished Draža for writing the report. Nedić and Draža were enemies even before the war. During World War II, Nedić was appointed as Prime Minister by German occupators. Nedić believed Germans would win the war. On the other hand, Draža believed that the British and Americans would win the war. In the summer of 1940, Draža attended a function organized by the British military attaché. The meeting was seen as anti-Nazi. German ambassador protested Draža's presence. Nedić decided that Draža was going to be demoted and placed on the retired list. Demotion and forced retirement never happened because Nedić was replaced. In April 1941, the Axis attacked Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was partitioned. Draža was in Bosnia when this happened. He avoided capture and refused to surrender. A small group of officers and soldiers managed to cross River Drina and return to Serbia. In May 1941, they reached Ravna Gora. Ravna Gora is a highland of Mountain Sobor in Serbia. Today, Ravna Gora is a mythical place for pro-Chetnik groups. There are annual gatherings on Ravna Gora. Draža's men are often called Ravnogorci, people from Ravna Gora. Kosta Pećanac had his own group of Chetniks that sided with Germans. Draža and Pećanac were enemies. In fact, Pećanac was killed by Draža's men. Since both groups use the same name, Chetniks, this sometimes creates confusion. In August 1941, Draža organized the Central National Committee, a civilian advisory body. The members were sub-nationalists, like Stevan Moljević. This was a huge mistake. Moljević created a plan to establish homogeneous Serbia. Association with Moljević discredited Draža in the eyes of many. Draža's supporters see Draža as monarchist and anti-communist who wanted to restore Yugoslavia. Draža's opponents see him as extreme sub-nationalist who wanted to create Great Serbia. After the war, Moljević was sentenced to 20 years in prison and he died while serving time. In September 1941, Draža managed to establish radio contact with the British. Yugoslav King Petar II and the government were in the exile in London, UK. In November 1941, BBC announced Draža was commander of the Yugoslav army in the fatherland. This became the official name of Draža's Chetniks. Serbian Jugoslovenska vojska u otadžbini. Draža's supporters like to point out that the army was called Yugoslav and not Serbian. They insist that it was ethnically diverse. It is true that there were non-Serb Chetniks, but they were a tiny minority. The truly ethnically diverse group were partisans, led by Tito. They were mostly communists and republicans. Partisans organized their own anti-Nazi rebellion in July 1941. Draža and Tito met in person to discuss joint actions against Germans. Indeed, there were some joint military actions in 1941. Chetniks and partisans turning on one another is one of the greatest tragedies of World War II in Yugoslavia. Chetniks and partisans working together would have saved a huge number of lives. Instead, they wasted men and weapons fighting each other. What caused rift between partisans and Chetniks? They had different visions of the post-war Yugoslavia. They had opposing ideologies and beliefs. But most importantly, they had different war strategies. Draža wanted to avoid German reprisals against civilians. Germans executed 100 Serbs for every killed German soldier and 50 Serbs for every wounded German soldier. So killing and wounding German soldiers would lead to thousands of dead Serbs. Example, Kragujevac massacre was the mass murder of between 2,778 and 2,794 mostly Serb men and boys in Kragujevac by German soldiers on 21st October 1941. Draža's strategy was to avoid direct conflict with the Axis forces. Draža organized sabotages that could pass as accidents. Thus, Serb civilians weren't executed. Draža's plan was to wait for British to reach the Balkans. Only then he would openly attack the Axis. Some of Draža's followers wanted more action and they left Chetniks and joined partisans. Partisans believed that reprisals were acceptable sacrifice. Partisan enemies say that partisans were fine with Serbs being killed. They like to mention that Tito was Austro-Hungarian soldier and fought against Serbs in World War I. The fighting soon turned into a three-way civil war between partisans, Chetniks and Ustaše. Ustaše were pro-Nazi Croats who wanted independent Croatia. Ustaše killed a huge number of Serbs during World War II. Draža didn't support Nazi and fascist ideologies. Draža denounced Serb fascist politician Ljotić as a traitor. The only thing Ustaše and Chetniks had in common was hate for communists. In January 1942, Draža was appointed Minister of Army, Navy and Air Force by the government in exile. In Montenegro, local Chetnik leaders collaborated with Italians. The main question is, did Draža greenlight the collaboration? On his trial, Draža claimed that he learned about the collaboration only after the fact. He said he had to accept the collaboration as the Montenegrin Chetniks acknowledged him as their leader in name only. Draža would accept food, arms and ammunition while waiting Allied landing in the Balkans. Draža's supporters are divided over this fact. One group claims that the collaboration between Chetniks and Italians was communist fabrication. Communists supposedly forced Draža to lie on his trial. Another group believes that collaboration with Italians was no big deal since Italians were Serb allies in World War I. The main Chetnik commanders all made decisions on their own. They were Đujić, Jevđević and Đurišić. Draža never punished the commanders, no matter what they did. Chetniks did not participate in the Holocaust, but they did kill Muslims. Draža did not order attacks on Muslims. He was either unable or unwilling to stop the massacres. Black Threes were executioner units known for liquidation of people opposed to Chetnik. In 1943, Charles de Gaulle awarded Draža with Croix Guerre, a French military decoration. In 1943, BBC started reporting more favorable about partisans. BBC occasionally attributed to partisans resistance acts undertaken by Chetniks. BBC apologized later. Pro-Chetnik groups believe this was deliberate BBC strategy to popularize partisans. In May 1943, Italians put reward for capture of Draža and Tito. Draža supporters cite this as evidence that Italians saw Draža as an enemy, not a friend. Partisans defeated Chetniks on Neretva River. Churchill decided to abandon Chetniks and give support solely to partisans. He based his decision on a report by Fitzroy MacLean. Pro-Chetniks say that MacLean was communist sympathizer. They see Churchill's actions as great betrayal. Churchill supporters say that he based his decision on war results. Americans were more reserved towards partisans. They saw Draža as anti-communist. In 1943, Americans made a movie called Chetniks. Chetniks helped rescue hundreds downed Allied airmen, Operation Halyard. For Operation Halyard, Draža was posthumously awarded Legion of Merit. The award was classified as secret by the State Department so not to offend Tito. After the war, Americans gave refuge to many Chetniks like Đujić. In August 1944, Red Army reached Yugoslav borders. In September, King Petar II called Yugoslavs to join National Liberation Army under the leadership of Tito. He did not mention Draža. The king's message had devastating effect on the morale of Chetniks. Many left Draža after the broadcast. Draža became desperate and started negotiating with his enemies, Ljotić and Nedić. He sent a delegation to Red Army, but they were arrested. He even tried to negotiate with Muslim and Croat leaders. British offered to evacuate Draža, but he refused. His supporters believed Draža was too honorable to leave. In April 1945, Chetnik commander Đurišić was murdered by Ustaše. This fact is used as evidence that Chetniks and Ustaše were enemies. Draža went into hiding in the mountains. Draža was caught in March 1946. His trial began in June and he was executed in July. We don't know where his grave is. Every few years, the location of Draža's grave becomes hot topic. Draža's own family symbolizes divisions among Serbs. He had 3 kids, 2 sons and a daughter. One son joined Chetniks and was killed in a battle. Remaining son and daughter joined partisans. His enemies say that this is proof that even his kids knew Draža was wrong. In 2015, Draža was rehabilitated by the court. The judgment was reversed because the trial was politically and ideologically motivated. What do I think? I always found it strange that Draža, as a professional soldier, couldn't control his men and impose discipline. Draža is guilty according to the principle of command and responsibility. The principle of command and responsibility centers on the requirements that the defendant was or had reason to be informed about the crimes perpetrated by his troops, and he failed to take sufficient measures to prevent their recurrence or punish the perpetrators. Just to be clear, I hold Tito responsible for partisan crimes.